one of our LPs told me in the past that impact is no excuse for bad businesses. And I think it's even more than that, because being a mission-driven company that brought money from impact investor or mission-driven investors, you need to prove more than others that you are able to scale the company.
Welcome to 20-Minute Leaders. Just sit back, relax, and learn from the leaders of today. It's a journey. Each one is different, unique, inspiring. Let's get started. This episode is powered by J Ventures, a community-driven VC fund in Silicon Valley in partnership with Leumi Tech, sponsored by Homeward Ventures, Hippo Insurance, Upwest Labs, Synergy Global, Hillel at Stanford, Leap, Birthright Excel, Serona Partners, and in media partnership with C-Tech. Let's talk about doing good, and what better than The Good Company? Meet Shahar Botzer, the co-founder and managing partner of Good Company. He's the father of four and one of Israel's first and leading impact investors. He's the co-founder and managing partner at Good Company VC, a mission-driven early-stage VC fund. He's held various leading positions in the business and social sectors, among others as managing partner at 2B Community and as the chairman at Issta Lines, a publicly traded holding company. Shahar Botzer, welcome to 20-Minute Leaders. How are you?
Thanks.
Thank you so much thank you for inviting me here.
Thank you for having me.
It's a beautiful office space, Good Company VC. I think that, immediately as you're looking at your profile, looking at the companies you've invested in and your involvement with the industry in so many different organizations, both in volunteering and investing, it's very clear that you've understood that your vision is to be an impact investor and to do good for the world while also doing great business. And I'm excited to get to know you better. So Shahar, tell me a little bit about yourself.
So I'm 39. I have 4 kids.
What are their names?
Nevo, Yanai, Arad, and Daria. Daria is only 3 months old.
Wow.
A girl after 3 boys. So that's like a big thing. And I'm an investor, a VC, a managing partner in Good Company. That's my professional ID for the past almost 8 years. Been doing it before in 2B Community and now in Good Company that we started 2 years ago. But I think that if I need to say who I am, I'm more seeing myself as a change maker. So I'm happy to doing it by the business sector and the tech industry and early stage, because I believe that's where my talent is. But my passion is creating positive change.
Being a change maker. Before we talk about business and talk about investments, how do you see the world from your lenses? Why do we need a change maker in your perspective?
So I think my point of view on the business sector really shifted in the past few years. I started more like in the optimistic version of an impact investor. I came from a background of both social sector and business sector for a few years, and then I had the opportunity that George Jeshin invited me to join him and start 2B Community. And I think both of us were in the place of thinking that every business can be an impact business, and putting a lot of emphasis on measuring and like the way that the business measure his social or environmental KPI. I think it shifted once because I've done it like a lot of times. Been doing it since 2014.
Wow.
And invested.
I've only started hearing about impact investing, I think maybe in 2019.
Yeah, when we started and I went like meeting a potential investors or entrepreneurs saying like impact investor.
And people they think you're a philanthropist who's just giving out money.
They ask me who should they donate to. Yeah. Most of them, but we did found people who believed in us and gave us the opportunity. Of course, there it was mostly oil, and after doing it for already more than almost 15 companies, being the first investor and a board member and working with the entrepreneurs, I understood that the big opportunity, at least in my perspective, is the places where there's like a single bottom line and not a double bottom line.
What does that mean?
Instead of looking for companies who can show you like their business KPIs and then a separate slide, how will we measure our effect on climate or effect on social issue. Uh, we are looking now in good company and companies that their product, and if they have, like we call it, North Star KPI, single KPI of the business will also indicate that they are solving a problem, either climate problem or
So
social problem.
it's aligned.
And then there's a line, and then you can really help those founders to build their business and not be in the place that impact is an excuse for bad business or something like that.
So just to make sure that I understand, if before there was, you would see that you had, a slide saying, okay, this is our business model, but then this is the secondary KPI because we're also going to be doing good by XYZ. You're saying, no. What we're focusing on is we want those two things to be on the same slide, to be in the same sentence. This is a North Star, and that North Star is the one that is creating this positive impact, right?
Yeah, I believe that's the scale of like an impact perspective. I'm not sure it's a profession, but this perspective of being in like impact mission driven VC, the scale is in those spaces. Of course, there will always be room for philanthropy, and there will always be room also for CSR and companies that are just selling like something that you can be sustainable, but you can't really change the world with. And you do need to have like your perspective and how do you affect your employees, the environment, and the community. But I think the scale of impact perspective in business is in those spaces that are looking for the world's biggest problem in the next 20 years and trying to solve them through technology.
So when you're looking at a company and you're looking at an entrepreneur, you're about to embark on a journey with them as a pre-seed investor, right? And really first meaningful check into the company. How do you even gauge this added extra layer of complexity? Because it's hard enough to create a good business. It's much harder to create a good business that as a North Star is also creating positive impact. How do you go about even rationalizing with the entrepreneur through all the different risks and the added complexity here?
So actually what we're trying to do is to work the opposite. We are starting from the why. So in good company, our like method or our way of operating is first what we do is we work with multinational corporates and we're trying to reverse logistic the VC industry. So we're working as a corporate VC, but for multinational corporations in the fields that we are specializing in, which is agriculture, digital health, future of work, and circular economy, let's say sustainable supply chain, energy, stuff like that. And we're working with them to map where are their climate or social crises ahead that we can build $1 billion company around, or more than $1 billion. And then we study the market, we study the competition, and we go and we look for Israeli founders who solve that proactively.
Okay.
So usually when we'll meet with an entrepreneur, with a founder, we will come already educated about the market and about the competition, and we know what we are looking for. It's much easier, and the product itself is solving an issue.
Right.
So there's no need, we don't even need to discuss the mission.
How does a board meeting run when you're both looking at business and impact at the same time, and you're not just measuring the business growth, but you're also measuring hardcore KPIs on affecting positive change? How does a meeting like that look like?
So the things, the companies we invested in, good company, they have, in our perspective, single bottom line, single KPI. We're working before investing with the founders to understand what is this KPI, especially in the early stage when you need to be super focused.
Can you give me an example of a single line KPI?
Yeah, sure. So Be Hero that we're invested there together. So they are saving bees. By saving bees, they are enlarging pollination. By that, making more yield in the field. We are measuring there, like our perspective as a good company is measuring how many acres do they serve. The more acres they will serve, the more money they will make, right? But the more money they will make, the more bees they will save.
Right.
So there's no need to have separate KPIs. What I experienced in the past years is companies that have separate KPIs, and then you have what's called mission drift. So either a very like big VC from the US, who is not an impact VC in any way, invest, and he says like, they're not in the board anymore. I don't care about that slide. I don't want to see it anymore. So then the company slowly starts to drift from the mission. The other option is that the company doesn't succeed to bring follow-on investors, which means the business is not going very well. And then usually they will speak a lot about this slide of social impact.
Right. That makes a lot of sense. How do you know to differentiate between, because today everybody wants to do good, and practically I imagine every company feels the need to explain that what they're doing is making a positive change in the world. So how do you now, approaching 2022, know to differentiate those that are actually making a positive impact versus those that are saying they want to make a positive impact, but really it's not, not the same thing?
So I think, first of all, it's becoming mainstream, and that's a positive thing. Like we like it that we hear more VCs talking about mission driven, and we see it as a positive thing, and we think that will help also the areas that we invest in, that will help them evolve. And that's also part of what we're doing in the movement, in our missions that we're doing every quarter. That's part of bringing more funds, more multinational corporations, more corporate funds to co-invest with us and to work with us in the companies. I think that what we do is, because we're starting from the why and we know what we want to solve, so naturally it's all about the people. Like it's early stage, so you can't really know who will succeed, and you can't really know what will be even the indications of succeeding, because the product is going to change and the go-to-market is going to change, right? So what you do is exactly what you do in the business side or the tech side. You talk with the founders and you try to see how do they think.
Right.
Like you go to their assumptions, trying to challenge them, see how do they think, why do they do it, why did they decide this problem? Why not another problem?
Right.
Why not to take this technology and use it in another use case, which will not be impactful?
Right. If you're taking me back to 2014, when you're starting out, you're looking at 2B and you're thinking about impact investing, what happened? Why go into impact investing at a time when nobody really is talking about it and it's not mainstream? Why is this such a big part of you?
So I think I have a unique CV of being in like a few micro careers in very various fields until I found myself as an investor, which is actually like mentoring, investing, strategic planning. Those are the qualities that you need. Understanding about people, those are the qualities that you need as an investor. But it took me time to find myself there. So in a way, my career started at the age of 13.
Wow.
I filed an appeal to the Supreme Court because the school, the city that I grew up wasn't accessible. And there was a legal precedent on my name. It was like 4 years.
Actually.
Yeah, and
Wow.
that's something that helped a lot of people with disabilities to enter the system, the regular system.
Why did you file the appeal and people before you didn't? What was different there?
I think it's mainly my parents. The credit, I think, is mainly for them. Like my father represented me there in front of the Supreme Court, although he wasn't a lawyer then.
Actually.
Yeah, my mother is really a lioness. And I think that's the difference in a way. Like they wouldn't accept any other option but me being completely independent.
Wow.
And I think that's something that not every boy in the age of 13 find himself like in
that situation.
Kind of
in the Supreme Court.
Making, yeah, and seeing like everyone around you said that you can't do something and you decide that you can and you're changing it. So that was probably something that like affected me in a significant way. And then I was in the army in computers, volunteering for 2.5 years. And then I studied accounting and economy, which I don't know why I did. and And afterwards, I was the chairman of the student union in Tel Aviv University.
Yeah.
And then I did a few positions both in the social sector and the business sector, not tech. And when I met Yoel, he was looking for somebody who speaks both languages. Both of us didn't know the word impact investing, but I think the more interesting thing to discuss is like the journey of starting good company after understanding like what works and what doesn't work. And also I must say that good company is not an impact VC. We don't call ourselves an impact VC. We are a mission-driven VC.
Okay.
And we are a VC that starts from the why, and we are very proactive. And we have a lot of like difference about us, but we don't use the word impact because I think it says to a lot of people something different than the way we work and what are we looking to invest in and to back.
Tell me about the story of the founding of Good Company.
So actually, I had an amazing experience in Tubi, an amazing home, amazing place to work, and the fund was already at the end of the investment period, and we did already the allocation. And then Yoel decided that he don't want to fundraise another fund as a GP, he preferred to be an LP, and we started discussing, will I stay in the family fund or I'll go out? And then the Corona started, and I was for 11 months at home because I'm at risk. And it's like a big opportunity to listen to yourself and what do you really want. And I had Ido, my partner and my friend now, that we already became friends, but we knew each other as colleagues. He came from technology. He came, like I come from more for the economy side. He comes from technology. He was at SAP.io and F2. And he started looking at more meaningful things to invest in. And he was the first one to jump in and say, I'm leaving F2. I'm starting a fund. Come, let's do it together.
Wow.
And against all odds, because we didn't have any core LP, and we had nothing. And a lot of people told us it's too early. Let's like go work in another fund, be partner in another fund. Wait, it's not the time. But we felt this is the timing. Like I felt watching the deal flow from 2014. You told me that you only heard of it on 2019. So think in 2014, it was really hard to find like first tier founders who wants to build something in energy or agriculture or digital health. It wasn't easy to find them. And even if you found them, it was really, really hard to convince them to take money from you when you're like saying, I'm an impact investor. Because they say, okay, but what do you understand in agtech? What do you understand in,
Right.
what do you understand in what I do? I need help in what's in, with customers, with talent, and going forward to COVID, like March 2020, the deal flow was amazing. Like I saw companies and I wasn't investing. So like to be community already finished the investment period. And I said, like, this is the timing, even though everything is happening. So we just left, like Ido left F2, I left 2B. Very good relationship with both funds. And we just started investing our own money. So we did the 5 investment in warehousing before starting bringing other LPs.
Huh.
And now we already have 7 companies and we did our first closing, and moving forward, it's like an amazing journey. And I think in a way we can also discuss it. Both of us had experienced it. Fundraising your own fund also makes you a better investor, I think.
Why do you think so?
I think Ido and me, both of us were always good company for our founders. And I think that's like our main asset is what founders that we work with think about us. But even though until you don't do the process of fundraising yourself, meeting like 300 potential investors, having like no after no after maybe after no, and then getting a yes, you don't really understand what's the experience of the roller coaster of being a founder. And maybe you can do it like technically, you answer on time and you give like you always do what you promise, but it's not the same experiencing the other side.
Very similar to building your own startup.
Very similar. Yeah.
Very, very similar. And I love how you're looking at the timeliness of good company, because it sounds like it was both timeliness in terms of what was happening around the world, this awakening of first-tier entrepreneurs going into energy and agri-tech and all those different sectors that are more considered impact traditionally, but now obviously with a mission-driven approach, but also timely in terms of your own personal experience and where you're at, and your understanding of who you are and what you're ready for. And it sounds incredible.
Yeah, we had a feeling that we are in the right place. Like people are in the ideation, just did an exit, want to do their next startup in energy, and they're in the ideation coming to meet us, telling us like, what do you think about that? And we had opportunity to go and support them in the pre-seed.
Incredible.
Which is right now, the market is flooded with money. Like you spoke about it with a few people in the podcast, but I think there are still a few areas who are underserved, especially in the pre-seed, seed, and we have a good position in the market to enter those deals.
The number one or one of the top tips you would give to an entrepreneur that is starting their business, wants to be impact driven, wants to be mission driven, wants to also be very profitable, what is one of the top things that you would tell them to think about or to focus on as they're ideating and as they're going through their process?
So I think I'm gonna try to squeeze two advices in one.
I'll allow it.
The Israeli way. But I think build it as you fly. Don't try to over plan, over research, meet the market as soon as possible. Learn as you fly, as you're building the startup. But be focused in building the business and not building the founding, the rounds.
Yeah.
I think there's an issue right now in the market because there's a lot of money looking to invest, that it confuses founders, and they are too focused in building the rounds and not focused enough in building the product and building the business. And building the startup is like building the team right. It's deciding who are your customers, who shouldn't be your customers, and making sure that the first customers, you get their feedback and you adapt the product properly. And I think building it as you fly, focus on the business. And I'm saying it, this will help also the impact happen. Being focused on the business is also the thing that's going to make you mission driven. If you're too focused on the impact, one of our LPs told me in the past that impact is no excuse for bad businesses. And I think it's even more than that, because being a mission-driven company that brought money from impact investor or mission-driven investors, you need to prove more than others that you are able to scale the company.
Definitely. Shahar, toda rabba. Thank you for the inspiration. I learned so much, and I love the companies that you're invested in. I'm honored that we're co-investors in quite a few of them, and just looking at the list, company after company, doing such amazing things for the world, highly profitable companies, but at the same time, on the same bottom line, doing some extraordinary things for the world, from ag tech to organizational behavior to mental well-being to anxiety relief, all across the board. Thank you very, very much. This was a lot of fun.